Hey there, everyone. This is Alice Karsavar, and today we're going to talk about home disclosure reports. So in this video, we're going to cover home disclosures for the Bay Area, and it's applicable to any area in South Bay, San Francisco, Marin, East Bay, and the Peninsula. So if that's you, sit tight, and I'm excited for you to watch because I have not seen any video like this online for buyers. And if you're a seller, maybe this will be interesting for you as well, or thinking of selling. So just a little bit about home inspections and home disclosures. It's optional for sellers to buy. Like you might be thinking, oh, where's the home inspection report? So that's where we're pretty special around these parts, because sellers around here are looking for fewer contingencies in offers. So they'll tend to provide information ahead of time so you don't have to go digging. One thing to note too, a term that's used commonly in the real estate industry is material facts. I've never heard a buyer ever say that, but that means things that would dissuade or persuade you to buy a property or impact your offer price. And so we always tell sellers to please disclose all the material facts so we don't get in some sort of arbitration, mediation, or any of that. So with that said, I'm going to go through and do it live. And so we're going to go through one together because I feel like the best way to do this is just to look at one. So I have brought up this property here in San Francisco, just because I have a couple of buyers around here right now and some in other areas. So I'll like take a look at the photos and say you're the buyer and you tell me, hey, Alice, I'm really interested in this property and you've checked it out and you want to go move forward. I'll say, okay, cool, great. Let's go get you the disclosures. And then you're going to get this like giant package. And sometimes it can be from via email or it can be via this site called disclosures.io. I really like the website version because then it's just nice and laid out and you don't have a giant like PDF in an email. And so this one happened to have that situation. So you look at this giant package in that you might be thinking, whoa, this is huge. Where do I even start? Once you've done like a few of these, it'll become more second nature. But even so, like if you have questions, you can just ask me what I think about it. I can't give you like legal advice. I can't tell you, oh, this foundation is fine because I'm not a licensed contractor. One thing to note is, even when you talk to a licensed contractor, they're like, it's an opinion from their expertise. So at the end of the day, it's about like your risk tolerance and what you're willing to pay for it and how much you like it. So these are just, this video is just to help you make those decisions for yourself. But we can't really tell you what to do or what not to do. We can just tell you what has happened in our experience. So yeah, this isn't like legal advice. This is just walking you through. So I'll start with the seller disclosure package. So again, not an attorney, just going to walk you through how I look at it from an agent perspective. So I'll start around the San Francisco seller disclosure. This is not typical in like Contra Costa. There's a different seller disclosure. And this is an additional one. So is this a probate court sale? No. Involved in bankruptcy? So it's no. I'm not going to like go into detail all these line items. There's another one that I've already reviewed before I started making this video that has more details. Have you made any alterations? So I'll look for this. I'll be like, okay, what alterations did they make? Basically, I want to see what's wrong with it, if anything. Okay. And they should, if they say there's been an alteration or something is wrong with it, then they should put more details. Sometimes they might not have that if they're, say the seller actually, or the owner deceased, then they don't have to disclose if because they might not know what the issues are. So 1 through 4, ground unit was added without permit, closed up interior staircase that leads to garage level, built a foundation at the rear of the property for a sunroom proposal, and it's unfinished. So one thing interesting here is it says 2,000 square feet. So now this makes me wonder, okay, did they like include that in this quote or did they leave that out? 12 noted leaks on other. I like how they know exactly the number. I like more disclosures than less. Sometimes though, you just have a seller who's not disclosing everything you feel, and you just got to keep asking questions, and that's just the way it is Okay, this one was repaired by a licensed roofer. So I love, love, love when they note an issue and they've resolved the issue. That, like, to me shows that the person cares about the property. And so they've done the pest control inspection, which they should. That's very normal. A general home inspection. This one's an optional one. Sellers don't have to get the home inspection, but this seller probably is looking for a offer with no inspection contingency. So they bought that ahead of time, which is very nice. Let's see. So they also, so right here, and so you can see the seller is under a trust. So this is a trustee of that trust, and no one died yet. So perhaps she is the, she's not like the daughter or whatnot. She's the actual owner. Okay, so that's the San Francisco version. Now we're going to go to, there should be a California version here that I remember had more SF seller disclosure. No, that's the one we just did. There is one more. Let me find it. Seller property question. And this is the one that if you're not in San Francisco, you will see this one. This is the California Association of Realtors form. Okay, so it should mimic what we just read. This one has more details. They painted the upstairs interior, touched up paint for downstairs unit. Sometimes you can like cover up mold with paint. So I would check when we look at, if we were to look at this house and make sure like that it was like clean and they weren't just like covering something up. Not too often. You don't have to be like accusatory or anything, but it's just things to note. Noted leaks on upstairs. So they noted the leaks again and that they fixed it with a time warranty. So I would ask and see, I'd probably call this roofer and be like, is this time warranty applicable if I buy it? Does it transfer with the ownership? And it sounds like it does because it's time, but I would just confirm that anyway. No pools. This isn't a condo, so they cross that off. No legal liens, are like someone else says they own that property. So that's good. They claim no liens. Nothing there. And then they say here that they've included these other reports. NHD is the Natural Hazard Disclosure Report. 3R is a San Francisco specific property and building permit report. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we're going to go look at the preliminary title real fast and just make sure that name matches this name. So we're going down here and it says the title is said of the estate or interest is vested in there. And that's the same title person who is matching the signatures on the seller property questionnaire. So what you can do is sometimes they'll attach receipts. And you can look at those receipts and make sure, or just see like who did it. You can maybe email and be like, if you're really serious about this property and you're going to buy it, you probably want to see if that can transfer that guarantee. Okay, then you could look at the 3R report and see like what was permitted, what wasn't, what the status is. So it looks like they did some permitting for re-roofing in 2005. They were placing old windows in the front of the building in 2017. You might notice, okay, like where's that sunroom situation? Is that here? What's the situation there? So you can ask the seller about that. And by seller, I mean you'd ask like your agent. So buyers will ask me like, hey, Alice, can you talk to the listing agent on that? Or, well, no, or that's about it. That's all I got there. Let's see. Okay, so the next one that some people get really nervous about are the National Hazard Disclosure. So let's see. Oh, so this is a separate one. This is a separate document depending on the age of the property. This one, I believe, was built in 1978. So I don't even know if they had to disclose this, but they did anyway, which is awesome. I'm all about more disclosures, the better. That's a good thing. So let's see. Water heater braced to resisting the fall of equipment. So water heaters should be braced. If they're not, like, okay. And a lot of times people don't know if it's bolted. Usually if they say they don't know, I just assume it's not. And yeah, usually I'll work with clients one-on-one and talk about the property and the specifics. some people, I know when I bought my property, I was like, oh my gosh, we don't have shear walls on the house. And then I talked to neighbors and they were like, well, we were here through the big earthquake and we're still here. I mean, I don't know what the whole earthquake situation will be like in the future, but if it survived the big ones, that's all we can say. It survived the big ones. Okay, you can always make it more stable though with like shear walls and studs, or you can ask a foundation person to give their assessment if they think they need it. And I always recommend talking to 3. Like I talked to one and they were like, oh, you're gonna have to redo everything. And then I talked to another one, he was like, you know what, your house is fine. So be sure to always get multiple opinions. Okay, I'm trying to find the stuff that's specific to this property. Okay, square foot lot. This one will not come up in your mind until you're starting to make active offers and you're thinking, okay, what's this property going to appraise at? And so you can see here the public record shows 1,800 square feet, lot size 3,000. And you might have seen this on wherever you were looking, Zillow, whatever website you're on, and be like 2,000. So like, which is the appraiser going to use? And then the floor plan drawing, I can't ever promise what an appraiser is going to do. Like even between appraisers, they're all different. But if it's not permitted and I would just not count it in your estimate. That said, things can still be bid up. And if it's like a great rehab project, maybe the appraiser will say, oh, this is definitely worth over, even though the square footage is different. So that's a case-by-case basis that I will talk with buyers about as we're making offers. Just some things to keep in mind. Okay, let's see. I'm looking for, some people don't care about this and others do. Let me find the NHD. Okay. No, that's not the one we want. Here we go, the booklet. Well, that's not going to help us. That's just the signature that you got it. Hazard. I actually don't know where that, I don't know if they actually attached it here. Water energy conservation booklet. This doesn't have, sometimes it'll be packaged all together. Flood map advice. Okay, so this is another one I'll look for. This is very common in places like Marin. And let's see. And basically the solution here is you might have to get some flood insurance, and that can range depending on what zone it's in. And then that's the same with wildfires as well. You might have to get some extra wildfire insurance and make sure that you can get that before you buy the property. Okay, so this one, your property is located in a 100-year storm flood risk zone. So I'm not sure. So what I would do here is I would ask and say, okay, do we need to get insurance for this particular property? And that's where I would go with that and ask if the current seller has that or needed that. And then I would also ask the bank if I need that, because banks are different if you're going to get a loan. Okay, I think these are the big ones. One of the common, I'm just going to close this up if I can't find it. And I cannot find it. Well, anyway, I'm just going to go and talk about now the natural hazard disclosures, because people ask me like, hey, Alice, like this property is in a landslide or a landfill or an earthquake zone. And I used to freak out about this a lot, and I cannot give you advice of what you should do, what you shouldn't do, but I will say that like the property I'm in is in an alleged like landslide zone. So I started to like get really obsessed with this idea of like, oh my gosh, what if there's a landslide? And then I realized like, okay, there's been no historical landslides. It was someone who like went through and like did a soil sample. And so then I started to research like soil samples and how that works. And I got more comfortable with the idea. And then I realized that every place where I live is actually either a landslide or landfill, or not landfill, but liquefaction zone. And it's just the soil type. And then I was like, well, if nothing's happened in the past, then it's probably fine. So it's really about like getting comfortable with what your risk tolerance is. And another thing to note too is some places don't even have the maps released by the government. So you might think, oh, this is like totally fine, but maybe that piece of land just had the map hasn't been released yet. And so there's places like in East Bay that don't have that map out yet. And in fact, when you buy a property in other places, like I bought property in Washington, none of that stuff is released. Like no one is giving you a natural hazard disclosure report before you buy a property. It's more of like a buyer beware that I've experienced personally out there versus California. So even though we're like terrifying you before you buy a property, it's because we want you to know everything before you make your home investment. So if you're ever like, oh no, I want to know more about this and understand, definitely like do research and ask your agent, and you can just like call me or look online, and get different opinions. The one thing I will say, like if you're feeling like fishy that something's been hidden, definitely ask, because sometimes things just, maybe the seller forgot, or maybe a document's missing. So like when I'm on the buy side of the deal, I'll always check and make sure like, okay, do we have all the required disclosures to make sure you can make an offer that will keep you as safe as possible for that property, or at least give you all the information you need to make an educated offer on it, if those words are right. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this. This was pretty brief. Again, you could spend like hours on disclosures, but I just wanted to give a brief rundown of how I look at things. Yeah, thanks for watching.